You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 93.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast this week. Hey, Marchelle, you know what? It's mid-December. How are you holding up?
Hey, we're doing pretty good. We've had a little bit of snow, which I love. I love the snow, but, I could use more. I just always love having snow. And it just means that, Christmas is here. I'm in the Christmas spirit. Everything's going great. I am struggling. I'm so glad we're talking about this subject today because I am struggling with this myself. So I will be doing the 4-day challenge along with everybody else.
Okay.
So, and I will report, I will report my struggles or my successes. I'm hoping success. And so let's get into it.
All right. So I have been super busy getting my house decorated and parties, and my oldest daughter's coming to visit from Alaska in a few days. So I'm super excited about that. And so we're going to be doing this 4-day challenge. It's going to be that week between Christmas and New Year's. So I wanted everybody to start thinking about this now, okay? I'm super excited about it. I love hosting these challenges because people learn so much.
I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I think a lot of people might be thinking about this for the new year, like what's my life going to be like in 2023? Is 2023 going to be the year that I really get this problem under good control? Lots of people start thinking about weight loss this time of year. And so usually what happens is they decide, well, they're going to splurge during the holidays and then get back on track after the new year. So that's why I timed the challenge the way I did, because the challenge isn't about actually getting started. It's about getting prepared to get started. So how do we think about all of this? So it's like, what are all the things that you need to be thinking about so that you can be successful at weight loss in the new year? And one of the things that I recommend that you think about is doing a sugar and flour detox. Okay?
For sure.
For sure. So today, that's what I wanted to talk about is like, what's life going to be like after you're off sugar and flour? All right. So you ready?
I'm so ready because I've done this before, this isn't, I'm not perfect. We know I'm human. I've done the sugar and flour detox before. I've gotten off track. I just never give up is the thing. Like what is so great is once you know this information, when you're ready, you know where to go back to get help. You know what to do. You have the tools. So, getting the motivation. The hard part for me is just getting the motivation, because it's challenging. So I love when you do these challenges because it gets me motivated, like it's brand new all over again. And, the excitement is there and the energy is high. So I'm so glad that you're doing this. Thank you. And let's get on with it.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I want to say is that our primitive brains do not like the idea of us going off sugar and flour at all. So if you're somebody who has this thought, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. You want me to like not eat sugar and flour at all. Well, I'm not saying you don't have to eat it at all, but I am saying that would be a really good idea if you want to be successful.
If you don't want to suffer.
Right, exactly. So our primitive brains are always looking for pleasure. Like that's one of the things that allowed us to survive, was to find things that were pleasurable. And so the primitive brain says pleasure means survival. And so what the pleasure is caused by is a hormone called dopamine, or a neurotransmitter, more accurate statement, a neurotransmitter called dopamine. And so sugar and flour produce dopamine. And the thing is that when we're eating processed foods like baked goods or candy or cereal or sugar sweetened beverages like sodas and energy drinks and that sort of thing, or bread or bagels or chips, like the dopamine gets stimulated in really high concentrations. So with all of that dopamine stimulation, it's almost like over pleasure. Okay. And so then people will start to think, well, nothing brings me the same pleasure as food does. And then they end up thinking about food an awful lot, right? Have you experienced this?
Yeah, I started this like when I was very, very young. I mean, I was addicted to candy. As young as I could even remember, addicted to sugar. And and I didn't even realize like why I was addicted to sugar, because I just wanted that feel good. I wanted to feel good, feel good, feel good. So now that now that I'm older and I know more, it all makes sense. But
it all makes sense.
It's a struggle. It never
that
goes
doesn't
away.
mean it's easy. Exactly.
So it is, all the information that you can take in is for your benefit. So listen up, people.
I would be eating one meal and thinking about what I was going to have for my next meal. It was like, And then I also remember that I couldn't imagine living without the sweet taste. So some people really like flour and floury things like bread and pasta and that sort of thing. I'm a sweets gal. And so I decided, I mentioned it before, but I just want to mention it again here. I decided in 2003 that I was going to go sugar-free. So 2003, sugar-free. So that's like 20 years ago now, right? I was much younger. Yeah. And I had no added sugar for the entire year. I didn't have any processed foods except for processed foods that contained sweeteners, right? I was super, super strict with myself. And, when I think back on it, there were a lot of qualities of an eating disorder for me that year, like very restrictive, very hypervigilant. But what I will say is that there was never a day that I didn't have something sweet. And so it would be some sort of sweetener, right? So it would be a protein shake that had a sweetener in it, or it would be a protein bar that had a sweetener, or it would be like some sort of keto dessert that was made with almond flour and a sweetener. So I would have all of this kind of fake stuff. And so I may have given up sugar, but I did not give up the sweet taste. And so I never did get my dopamine center rebalanced. And I never had the peace around food that I actually was seeking. So
yeah, that's rough.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
So I do, sometimes still have things that have sweeteners in them, like a protein bar or a protein shake or something like that. But my brain's no longer dependent on sweets for pleasure, which is really, really nice. So what that means is that now my dopamine receptors they're more normal now. And I can really taste the natural sweetness of fruit. And it's really quite satisfying. And I'm actually shocked at like how sweet cucumbers are. Did you know how sweet they are?
Yeah. So when I was sugar and flour free for that period of time when I did it, food tasted so good and it was so different. It was just such an awesome experience doing that. And I can't wait to get back there. I'm just really excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to explain a little bit about what's happening in the brain when we eat processed foods that contain sugar or flour or both. So these substances, they're basically white powders, right? So think about all of the addictive drugs that you know of, heroin, meth, all of those drugs. They're producing hits of dopamine in very high concentrations in this part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens. And that's the pleasure center. So processed food causes a lot more dopamine release than natural food. So it's like concentrated pleasure. So think about the difference between an apple in its natural state and apple juice. Apple juice is concentrated pleasure, or apple sauce, concentrated pleasure, or even apple pie, which is like way good because not only is it apples, but it's sugar on top of the apples. And then you got the flour too. So like super, super pleasurable, right? So the natural pleasure of an apple has been concentrated in all of these. And so the same thing is true for all kinds of juices and soda and candy and cereal. And, basically all processed foods cause big, huge hits of dopamine to be released in the nucleus accumbens. And that's different than what occurs with natural food. So the brain loves this pleasure. And again, remember, the primitive brain thinks that anything that is that pleasurable must be life-giving and wants more of it. And so then we end up with cravings for it. So we end up seeking it out. And then over time, our dopamine receptors become so overstimulated that we end up getting a condition called dopamine downregulation. And what that means is that the dopamine receptors don't function very well anymore. And so then we need even more dopamine to get the same amount of pleasure. So then we really start to feel these consistent cravings for these foods. So we have to have that dopamine hit. And eventually, the dopamine downregulation gets severe enough that we need the extra dopamine just to feel normal. And so without it, then we'll get withdrawal symptoms like severe cravings or anxiety or headaches or fatigue when we don't get the dopamine that we're getting from these highly concentrated dopamine producing foods. Okay. So this is why I just wanted to explain, why is it that your brain freaks out at the idea of not having sugar or flour? It's because your brain starts to throw a bit of a fit. It's like you're not going to be getting the one thing that your brain thinks it needs to survive. And you're going to feel really bad for a few days, maybe even a week, maybe even a little bit longer than a week. So does that make sense, Marchelle?
Yeah. And what's so weird about that is that sugar and flour just has like no nutritional value whatsoever.
Oh, I know.
And
it's true.
But for some reason, it messes with our brains so much that we feel like we have to have it to survive. That's like just a crazy thought.
I know. Yeah, it is. So what I want you to know is that the brain heals. So the dopamine receptors that were downregulated start to come back. And you'll be surprised at how good you feel and how you don't have cravings or this constant need for the crap food. And you discover just how awesome natural food can taste.
Okay? That's good to know.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to read one of the members of our Facebook group posted in Sugar and Flour Busters Society about what the process of giving up sugar and flour was like for her. And she actually gave me permission to read this on the podcast. So you ready to hear what she said? So she said, inspiration for those on the fence. I'm 5 weeks into my sugar and flour sobriety. It gets better, I promise. From my first week journal entry, I logged insane cravings and a tearful breakdown after grocery shopping. The smells, fresh baked bread from the bakery sent me careening down the aisle for safety. Much to my surprise, was filled with boxed baked treats. I could smell them through the boxes like a bloodhound. That's the brain's nucleus accumbens going, give me that damn stuff now, right?
Right.
So she says, in despair, I logged into Dr. Zechmann's podcast for support. Good idea. As well as this Facebook group, which is Sugar and Flour Busters Society, by the way, if you want to join us over there. I spent the next week in a deep dive on the science of carbohydrate addiction and impact to your organs from overconsumption. I was scared straight, and I have been true to course and feeling strong. The smells no longer bother me. Sitting next to friends eating carbs no longer makes me suffer. The weight is coming off. My energy has skyrocketed. My skin is so healthy looking. I feel calm and mentally focused. If you're on the fence, take the leap. The first week is hard, but then it's so much easier. Food freedom is a beautiful thing. She put a heart emoji. Your health is a gift. You are worth this effort. Make the commitment. Get prepped. Find keto recipes for ideas. Listen to music while you cook. Find joy in the journey.
Oh, this is so beautiful.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's what she's wrote. And what I can say is that she's glowing. to just see her, she's such a totally different person. And I do love, because we always take before pictures in the clinic. And it's just so interesting to compare the later on pictures with the before pictures.
I know. And this is so true. You guys, this is so true. I mean, I did this myself. It is so true. It gets better. It is so worth it. This is such an inspirational testimony.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so worth it to get off these drugs. I really don't think most people have any idea just how toxic sugar and flour is to the human body. And we have no idea how much the food industry is constantly manipulating us to eat it, especially this time of year. And by the way, I'm going to post this in Sugar and Flour Buster Society. One of our patients was telling me the other night she had gotten into some cereal that she'd bought for her grandchildren. And she said, I just remember walking down the cereal aisle and there it was on the bottom, of course, right where the kiddos will see it. And it had Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on the front of it.
Right. I know. They're so evil.
And like little reindeer marshmallows on the inside, something like that. I can't remember what it was. But so like the food industry is out there trying to get us to buy stuff for little kids so that they will get addicted at such a young age. I mean, it's horrific what's going on.
It is horrific. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have the challenge coming up. We're going to get started on December 27th. It's totally free. It's going to be a blast. And we're going to do this as a group. And we're going to have contests and prizes and everything. I love doing these challenges. It's such a blast. So if you'd like to sign up, just go to journeybeyondweightloss.com/challenge and you can sign up. And plan to be with us for all 4 days and plan to take part in the challenge and do the exercises. And we'll be recording the episodes so you can watch later if you want. It's always fun to do this prep work as a group, and the participants will support each other too. And I'm super, super excited about it.
We are too. My husband and I have already started getting prepared for this. Like we're doing it, both of us together. Yeah, we have our yoga mats out and ready for the exercise. We even like tried them out the other night. Like, okay, where are we going to put them so that we have room? You know, what are we going to do with our cupboards? We're clearing stuff out. We already looked at recipes awesome. for the detox. We've already gotten some groceries for this. Like, the longer you give yourself to prepare, I think the better, because you really feel confident going into it. So start with little things like right now. Just start with little things like, lay down on your yoga mat, do some meditation, think about it, to give yourself these positive affirmations. I will get healthy. I will lose weight. Just like the last podcast said, I mean, if you just listen to what Angela says and you just do it and you don't question it, it works. Yeah. It's just that simple. It's just that simple.
Well, you can start doing some visualizations of who you want to be 6 months from now or a year from now. Like imagine, being free from these drugs and imagine a glorious, healthy, vibrant life for yourself. And of course, the weight loss is just sort of a secondary side.
Yeah, that just happens. But that's, the stuff that goes on in your brain is so much more important. The clean energy, the positive attitude, you feel happy. It's just such a different way of living. And so I can't say enough about it.
So, all right, everyone, there is life beyond sugar and flour, and we can testify to that. I promise you. It's just so much better. So join us in the challenge December 27th through the 30th. Tell your friends to sign up too. You don't have to quit sugar and flour until you're ready, but I'll teach you everything you need to know to get started. And it's going to be enlightening and a ton of fun. And remember, there are prizes too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. So, all right, everyone, have a great week and we will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.